This is an ABC News special report. Now reporting, George Stephanopoulos.
Good morning. We are coming on the air now with breaking news in the Russia investigation. The president's longtime political advisor, Roger Stone, has been charged this morning by special counsel Robert Mueller, 7 counts of witness tampering, false statements, and obstructions of proceedings. He has just appeared in a courthouse in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, appeared before a judge, gotten $250,000 bail, formally arraigned in D.C. next week. That's the scene at his home in Florida this morning, where FBI agents showed up right around 6 a.m., went in to arrest Roger Stone, took materials from that apartment, also his homes in Harlem, New York. Again, another indictment here in the Russia investigation, 7 counts of false statements and witness tampering. I want to go straight to our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas.
George, this is about Roger Stone reaching out to WikiLeaks trying to get information allegedly hacked by the Russians. The other key is that he apparently kept some senior campaign officials aware of his efforts regarding WikiLeaks, and they wanted regular updates, which he allegedly provided. But there's no allegation of collusion where Stone or any of these campaign officials are accused of directly working with the Russians. But this could be the first hint that the Russia investigation is nearing its conclusion, George.
Right. We know from previous indictments by Mr. Mueller that he believed that WikiLeaks was getting information from Russian intelligence, from Gustavert, but there's no allegation here that Roger Stone communicated directly with Russian intelligence.
That's correct, George. The key here is that everyone suspected, based on the stories that had been published in the summer of 2016, that these documents that WikiLeaks was putting out, they put out some right before the Democratic Convention, as you'll recall. People suspected that the Russians were responsible for that hack. Now the allegation here is that Roger Stone sought to get more and more information from WikiLeaks, and then when he heard that there were congressional investigations, that the FBI was looking into it, that he sought to cover his trail. That's essentially what the special counsel is alleging here.
And he alleges that he had communications with multiple officials on the Trump campaign. I want to bring in our chief legal analyst, Dan Abrams, for more on this. Dan, one of the things that pops out of the indictment is a communication supposedly after the first release of WikiLeaks documents, July 22nd, 2016, where Mueller goes on to write that a senior Trump campaign official was directed to contact Stone about any additional releases and what other damaging information Organization One had regarding the Clinton campaign. Stone thereafter told the Trump campaign about potential future releases of damaging material by Organization One. One of the key questions that raises, who's the senior Trump campaign official? Who directed that person?
Right. And that's now the discussion about the Trump campaign. Let's be clear. Trump campaign is mentioned 28 times in this indictment. So there's no way to talk about this indictment and ignore the reality that the Trump campaign is mentioned numerous times here. And when talking about who directed it, I mean, that's the big question. Who ordered him? Who directed him? And I will promise you that Mueller has an answer to that question. He's just not answering it in the context of this indictment. So that, and it's important to note, George, there are 2 sets of releases here, right? So you've got the release of the DNC documents, which were hacked. But then the question becomes, all right, what's going to happen next here? Ultimately, the documents with regard to John Podesta are released in October. But now we have to ask, what exactly did the Trump campaign know, for example, about the Podesta documents before they were released? And I think that the fact that Roger Stone is talking to the Trump campaign throughout this process becomes a critical point to look at moving forward about the possibility that the Trump campaign was aware of not just the DNC, which was public, but specifically that any information about the Podesta emails that wasn't public.
And then, Dan, the other question that could flow from that as well, did these other Trump campaign officials, multiple campaign officials, tell the truth about their dealings, either to Congress or the special counsel?
Correct. So you have, at least 2 different Trump officials mentioned here. Specifically, I think there's sort of references to more here, and most or all of them were probably questioned by the special counsel. And it's now clear from this that the special counsel has answers to a lot of things that we are still asking questions about. And we'll have to see, did they tell the truth in the context of that questioning? Because that could be potential problems for other folks, specifically in the Trump campaign.
Okay, Dan, we are getting our first response from the president himself, from his lawyers, from others in the White House. I want to go for that to Terry Moran at the White House. The first tweet just moments ago from the president.
An angry tweet, George. Greatest witch hunt in the history of our country. The president tweeted out just moments ago. No collusion. That's in all capitals with an exclamation point. Border coyotes, drug dealers, and human traffickers are treated better. Who alerted CNN to be there? Referencing the CNN camera crew that was on the scene when the raid went down. CNN said they were watching grand jury activity over the past few days, knew something was up. Here at the White House, nothing to see here. That's what Press Secretary Sarah Sanders told CNN this morning. She said this has nothing to do with the president, certainly nothing to do with the White House. This is something that has solely to do with Roger Stone and not something that affects us here in this building. When asked directly, does she know? She was on the campaign. Who on the campaign told Roger Stone, according to this indictment? Go check with WikiLeaks, see what other kinds of emails they might be getting from the Russians. She said she did not answer directly, but she said there was no collusion, that this is all a witch hunt. So she did not answer that question directly. She said that's a legal document. I haven't read it yet, but she emphasized what the president has. Nothing to see here, no collusion. Whatever this most recent close associate of the president is indicted for has nothing to do with the president or the White House. That's the line here.
That's the line there. What we're hearing from Democrats on Capitol Hill, that they believe that there's more to investigate here. At the time, I want to go to Tom Llamas, who's our senior national correspondent there at the courthouse in Fort Lauderdale. I take it, Tom, that Roger Stone now getting processed to be able to be released, at least for today.
That's right, George. And it was quite a striking scene inside of that courtroom. I'll take you inside. It was a tiny federal courtroom here at the Broward Federal Courthouse. There wasn't a single seat that somebody wasn't sitting down in, everyone looking at Roger Stone. And if you've ever seen Roger Stone, you know he's always a very dapper person. His hair always combed perfectly. Well, he looked very disheveled, and he was in shackles, George, handcuffs. He addressed the judge. The only thing he said in court was, "Thank you, I understand, Your Honor." He will have to undergo a drug test, but once he passes that first drug test, he will not have to be drug tested again. That's one of the conditions of his release. As you mentioned, there was a $250,000 bond, but he doesn't have to put up any cash for that bond. He's going to be able to be released without putting any money down. He just can't he just can't miss any court dates. Now, here are some of the other restrictions. He can only travel here to the Southern District of Florida, to the Southern District of New York, and to D.C. He waived the next hearing to be held here. He's going to go straight to D.C. He'll be moved there. That's where his next hearing will be. But quite a scene also right here outside of the courthouse, George. I'm going to take you around. We're waiting for Roger Stone to come out. He possibly could speak, but there are dozens and dozens of camera, reporters, all types of people here. But there are also protesters, supporters that have been fighting with each other just a little bit, arguing with each other about President Donald Trump, about Russian collusion and other allegations. And other Roger Stone confidants are here to show his support. I did not see any close members of his family and or his wife in the courtroom. We'll see what happens once he leaves, George.
Okay, Tom, thanks very much. I want to bring in Chris Christie, former Republican governor of New Jersey, now an ABC News contributor, close associate, also has been longtime friend of President Trump. We heard, Chris, the president's response right there. But now with this indictment, we now have six associates of President Trump who've been cited by Robert Mueller of the Southern District of New York for lying or false statements, including his former National Security Advisor, Michael Flynn, his personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, Paul Manafort campaign chair, Deputy Campaign Chair Robert Gates, Roger Stone himself, and George Papadopoulos, the foreign policy advisor. You see here the president surrounded by people who, for whatever reason, have not been telling the truth, either to Congress or to Robert Mueller.
No, listen, that's obvious. And I think, you know, as a former U.S. attorney, George, when I read this indictment this morning, it once again proved out just how smart and careful Robert Mueller is being. You know, he has Roger Stone, according to this indictment, dead to rights on the perjury charges. And listen, the other thing in here, and Dan mentioned this as well, is this is got to be a very disturbing day for some senior members of the Trump campaign, because for those folks to now be in this indictment, referenced in this indictment as having given any kind of direction to Roger Stone, opens up a whole new avenue of inquiry that I'm sure Mueller has already done. And I think one of the things that people always discount is the prosecutor almost always knows more than you do. And when they went and sat with the special counsel, I think the other thing they've all got to be concerned about is whether they're going to be facing charges on false statements to the prosecutors as well, depending upon what they told them. And that's a very small circle of people, George.
Okay, Chris Christie, thanks very much. We're awaiting Roger Stone. He's set to appear. We think he's going to come up before the cameras in about 45 minutes. We will come back if he does appear. For now, we're going to go off there. As we said, Roger Stone cited on 7 different counts of false statements, obstruction, and tampering with a witness by Robert Mueller. Just appeared in a federal courthouse in Florida. We're going to stay on this all day long. You can follow it all on abcnews.com, and we'll have a full report tonight on World News Tonight with David Muir.
This has been a special report from ABC News.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.